Welcome back to pregame.tv. We're going to go to the SEC. We're going to take a look at Georgia and Tennessee. And Ken, I got to tell you, that was one of the most enjoyable, fun games to watch last week, Georgia and LSU. I mean, I don't have to tell you, you do radio shows every night, but I did a lot of national radio spots, different cities, and they always send me what games they want to talk about. Naturally, the regional games for their area, but then the spotlight games. And there's not anybody that did not want to talk about Georgia LSU last week. And I told them this is going to be a barn burner. And I said, this is one of those, use the old cliche, the team with the ball last is probably going to be the team that wins the game. And it almost was that because Georgia scored late and gave LSU a little bit of time left, so they didn't technically have the ball last when they won. But what a game, Murray and Mettenberger. Those are two guys that we'll be seeing playing on Sundays, in the NFL.
I agree with you. And, of course, Mettenberger, it was tough for him to go back to Athens. His mom still works, University of Georgia, grew up right by there. So it was tough, and he nearly pulled the upset with Stellar, but Aaron Murray had the last answer and the last laugh. And for Georgia faithful, that's a huge win because it keeps their SEC title hopes alive. They had to take care of business. Not that they're in the same half. They're both in the eastern half. But Georgia wants to go unblemished in the SEC so that they have a chance at the national title. Who knows? Maybe Clemson runs the table. They get another crack at Clemson. A lot of football to be played. It's going to be interesting. But who would have thunk the SEC, you see 49-42 Alabama over A&M, and then 44-41 Georgia over LSU.
It's the landscape of football, both college and pro. I mean, the days of 3 yards in a cloud of dust, they don't exist anymore.
The days of Chuck playing all his unders are going by the wayside.
And talk about offense. Georgia, LSU is a good defensive team. I mean, year in and year out, they're always one of the better
defensive. Chavis is one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, no doubt. Georgia
put up almost 500 yards last week, and this was, not a mediocre defense by any stretch of the imagination. Normally, off of a big win like that, the knee-jerk reaction for the public would be saying, okay, Georgia had that big win, but now they got to be flat coming off of a win like LSU. But the reason I say they're not going to have that letdown is even though they're stepping down in class to play a Tennessee team, this Tennessee team last year gave them a major, major scare. It was a 51-44 shootout that Georgia escaped with a victory. So having that, if I'm the coach, that's how I open practices this week, is with the videos of what almost happened last year at Tennessee to get this team's attention.
That and the fact that Tennessee's in their half of the SEC. They're in the eastern part of that SEC division, so they don't want to lose that game.
They don't. Well, you know what? This is my free pick. Let's go ahead and make it official.
Can't wait to hear it.
All right, the first thing I got to say regarding Tennessee is how does Tennessee stop this offense? This offense for Georgia is a machine. They can run the ball at you. They can throw the ball at you. You try to cheat and stop one of the two, they're going to bury you with the other. I also look at it that this Tennessee team, we know they're not going to be able to stop Georgia, so they're going to have to trade points with them. Now, I talked about last year's game. Yeah, they traded points last year, 51-44. They don't have a quarterback this year that they can trade points with Georgia. Last week was the first time this season, and here we are into October, it was the first time Tennessee broke 200 yards passing. They went last week 20 of 36 for 204. The only problem was that was against South Alabama. They have struggled in every other game throwing the ball, and they're going to need to throw the ball in this game because Georgia's going to get their points. And Tennessee cannot rely on the running game. Last week, we talked about it when we previewed the LSU-Georgia game. We said that LSU may have the best running tandem, not even tandem. They have a whole stable of running backs. And last week, Georgia held LSU to 77 yards rushing on 36 carries. And we've knocked this Georgia defense all year. So that was, I think, one of the big keys to the game. Now, fortunately for LSU last week, they had a quarterback that could put the team on his shoulders and carry them passing the ball. Tennessee does not have that. So this game could get ugly whenever Tennessee falls behind and is forced to go to the air to try to stay in it. And Georgia can pin their ears and come back at them. But finally, and this is the biggest reason of all, and Ken already touched upon it, Georgia has their entire goal still in front of them. Winning last week's game catapulted Georgia back into the SEC and the national championship spotlight. If they run the table and only have one loss, an SEC team with one loss has everything to play for, because if somebody else stubs their toe along the way, that SEC team with one loss is going to get the look over another conference. It's just the facts. It's the toughest conference in football. So Georgia they're excited. They got everything in front of them. They almost lost this team last year, so they're not going to look past them. And I like what I see from Georgia. I'm going to lay the wood in this one, see if we can keep this run going. As Ken said, we're 11-3-2 with the football this season, with our football video. So let's keep it going. My pick is Georgia. I've got them winning this game 43-23. Lay the points, and we're going to be right back. We're going to go to Saturday action. We've got another free pick for me. We're going to go to Central Florida. They travel to play Memphis. That's up next. Pregame.tv.